Hello and welcome to this session brought to you by the Academy of Practical Accounts in conjunction with your institution. In this session, we look at how we record the amounts owed to creditors, that is opening creditor balances. How much is owed to individual creditors? Now, previously, we recorded the total owed to creditors. Ideally, this should indicate which creditors. Okay, fine. We have a total there. And then there should be a list of which creditors are owed at the start of a financial year. So let's get straight to our device. This is our device. Now, when we recorded the bulk of the opening balances, we used the multi-entry form. That was the multi-entry form. Let's drag this to Oh, it's not responding. We need to drag up there. Okay. Yeah. So we use the multi-entry form, this one, but now we're going to use a special form which we find in the creditors module. So we click creditors and we have a special form for recording creditors opening balances. That is form number 8. However, there is an option of adding creditors' names before recording, or we go straight to the creditors opening balance. Now here, let's see what happens when we click this. Now when we click this, we already have telephone limited in there. I think it was created at some point earlier on, but assuming that name wasn't there, let's change our orientation. Let's change our orientation to, let's rotate the device. This gives us more information. Okay, we can scroll it up there. Now, assuming that name was not there, then we would have gone through the process of add, modify. But then when you go through the process of add, modify, remember, whatever is recorded on the form disappears. So the first thing to do is to make sure all the accounts are in place. Like we experienced with the multi-entry form, we lost some information. It's a learning point. So the first thing is to ensure that all the accounts are in place before values and other information are entered. Otherwise, we'll lose a bit of time. So we're going to select the telephone limited account. Now, the importance of this form is that it makes an entry in the general ledger. Now, which entry goes to it makes 2 entries in the general ledger. Well, I guess you have a. Now, this entry is credited in the general ledger and this one is debited in the general ledger. Now, what happens? We previously recorded onto account 251. That was in session was it 17? We credited account 251. Now we're transferring that balance of value from this account to this account. So we debit this account and credit this account. This is where the value should be. It was here only temporary. And we're using this form to ensure that double entry is complete, plus the entry in the creditor's ledger, because the multi-entry form does not cater for the creditor's ledger. It's not advanced to that stage. So we've got our date here, which is 30th of March. And remember, our date is supposed to be 1st of April. However, the date may not be a big issue. What matters in this particular case is the quarter. Now, this form, because it's very specific, comes with all this information preset. All this information is preset. What we may need to do is to modify the narration, otherwise the rest is okay. All right, let's work on the date here. Now that date should be 1st of April. Now we click the year here and we get 2016. Click on that and all right, we've got 2016. Now this should be March, so we need April. This should be April, and that's 1st of April. We click set. Oh, and the date has come. Now let's see what happens here. Apparently it has changed our financial month, because according to the settings, April is the first month of the financial year. So what we're going to do is to delete that 0. to delete the 1 and enter the 0 to give us the balance brought forward. Now, to avoid that, probably, we just go with any date that comes. Now, these accounts are already set. We've not selected any. We were supposed to select the creditor's account, but there's only one creditor's account, and by default, it's the one selected. So what is the amount owed to a creditor? Now remember, we've got only about 2 forms where we absolutely have to type the negative amounts, plus, of course, the returns. So we've got the multi-entry form and then this opening creditors, plus the returns, as was indicated in earlier sessions. So we've got to enter the amount owed to Telephone Limited, which is negative 28. Negative 28. Okay. Click on the device. Now, what we find is that these 2 accounts are going to be credited. That one is carrying out entries in 2 sections in 2 separate ledgers. This one is going to the creditor's ledger, and these 2 are going to the debtor's ledger. In the general ledger. In the general ledger, we've got double entry. So when it comes to reconciling creditors, the general ledger, the control account in the general ledger will agree with the sum of individual creditors in the creditor's ledger. Now, let's see what else we need to modify. Okay, we modify this narration and we type there telephone because we might have several opening balances on the control account. So we are customizing this one and indicating that this one was owed to Telephone Limited. All right, now it looks like we're ready to save. Let's click save. That is done. Now let's have a look at the ledger. Okay, let's look at the general ledger. Let's look at the general ledger. That is month brought forward. Okay, very quickly look at the general ledger. Now come to miscellaneous. Let's go back to our let's rotate our device now. We need to see more of this general ledger. Click this. Okay, now we come to the periodic tasks reports checklist. We are tracing the double entry, and so we're coming to report P5. Okay, this is our report P5. This is month 1. We don't need month 1. We need the balance brought forward month. Okay, double click that. And now we need to trace. We need to trace the 2 entries that transferred 28 from the temporary account to the debtor's control account. The debit entry is on the temporary account, and this account is left with a 0 balance. I hope you can see that. This temporary liabilities account, that was the initial opening balances. This 28 is transferred from this account to the creditor's control account. Let me pinch a tiny bit. Okay, so our trade creditor's control account is account 224. So debit here and credit here. So this is the final resting place of this opening balance 28. And if we scroll down, there appears to be no difference. Let's scroll down. It's not showing. Let's see. It's not moving. No. Let's go back. Let's go back. Now that we have recorded the opening creditors, now which other reports are affected? We go to the creditors ledger. Creditors ledger. We have seen the general ledger. Now we're going to month 12. Month brought forward, which is just below here. So we can see the opening balance of minus 28 brought forward. Now we could also look at the creditors reconciliation. Remember, we have a special form for recording opening creditor balances because we need to save the reconciliation time. Okay, yeah, that's month 0, which is up here. We double click that, and there we are. Let's see the reconciliation. Let's try to make some bit of sense on this reconciliation. Now this is report P8. It says that the sum of opening creditors is 28. The balance on the creditor's control account brought forward is minus 28. and the sum of individual balances to creditors copied from below here is also minus 28. So we have a difference of 0. Now, instead of going to report, that should be report. Let's see. Let's go straight to the creditors ledger. Click this button and it takes us to the creditors ledger straight. Did we have a look at this? I think we have. Probably not. Creditors ledger. Okay, and then in here we're going to look at opening balances brought forward. Yes. Yeah, balances brought forward. This is what we have. That is the creditors ledger, and that is the telephone limited account. That's the telephone limited account. Now let's have a look at the year end, which reports at the year end. We're looking at creditors reports. Creditors reports at the year end. Now trade creditor reports. We'll look at the creditors summary and reconciliation. This is Q. No, it's report. It's report. I think we've changed the name from Q. We shall check. We'll have a look at the checklist. Oh yes, it's Q. Yeah, it changed from P to Q. Yeah, this is Q1, and we've got the opening balance of 28 there. Okay, and then we don't need to go to the detailed account because it's the same as what you saw in the periodic creditors ledger. Well, I think that's about it. Really, we have recorded the opening creditors balance, and we have had a quick look at the affected reports. Now remember, it's now a cumulative effect and we've recorded a number of transactions. Any questions, please, you can contact us by email or get us on Skype, accounts coaching. Thank you.